The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, everybody. This is your boy, RayD, or is it? Actually, it's not. This is the voice cloned version of RayD. I guess we can call this RayDA.I. Overall, I bet if we tweak the settings some, we could get it closer to his actual voice. Anyway, our guy RayD has launched a really cool podcast, so if you have not checked out his Deep Shallow Dive podcast, you really should. Okay, RayDA.I over and out. And remember, always call a spade a spade. This just happened. Mind blown.
Okay, thank you, RayDA.I. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the first guest on the Deep Shallow Dive. And I guess it's apropos that the first guest on Deep Shallow Dive is RayDA.I. Come on, now that's pretty funny. That's funny. Anyway, this is actually your boy RayD and the real RayD. And I wanted to start the episode off with that because today we're going to jump back into talking AI. I know we've talked a lot of politics and social events and all that for the past many episodes, but as I shared with you in episode 5, which was the RayD Hackathon Guide to Starting Your Own Podcast, and then touched on this throughout, some of the rest of the episodes, part of my goal of Deep Shallow Dive is also to really help you guys understand some of the cool tools and technologies that are emerging at, a blistering breakneck pace, it seems like. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. It's not like I've been some AI aficionado or expert, for years now. I've really just got into this stuff over the past few months, believe it or not. And, in typical RayD style, I kind of have immersed myself in the space because, first of all, I think it's fascinating. I really do. And then secondly, this stuff is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And as I was sharing with a friend of mine the other day, you either are going to learn it now and understand it now and really try and make it part of, I guess, your future and your educational growth, or it'll get to a point where you'll be a little bit behind the 8 ball and you'll kind of be forced to catch up. So I highly recommend starting to understand it now. And one of my goals is going to be to try to, I use this expression and I don't mean any offense when I say it, but I'm trying to dumb this stuff down, and I don't mean dumb it down in a dumb way. I mean dumb it down in a simplistic way because, at the end of the day, even though this stuff is incredibly complicated on the back end, on the front end, especially when you're talking about the consumer applications, they're not that complicated. And whether it's Google or Microsoft or OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT, or anyone, any of the major players, they can't make it that complicated on the front end because it needs to be consumer friendly. Maybe the enterprise versions, and by enterprise, I mean, the business to business versions revolving or are surrounding AI applications, those could be a little more complicated even on the front end. But the consumer stuff is not complicated. You just have to invest some time to get to know it. So today I'm going to talk about a few different things and really use today as kind of like step one in what I highly recommend you start doing when it comes to AI, just to get yourself familiar with the tools, the technologies, the terminology, and the space. All right, so really step one of this is, for now, and really for today more than anything, we're going to focus on ChatGPT, which is the AI chatbot and pretty much what's gotten most of the news. Right now it's kind of funny when people talk about AI, they're really talking about ChatGPT, and they're not even doing it on purpose, but the two terms are kind of interchangeable right now. AI, artificial intelligence, obviously that term should kind of sit above everything. And so think about it like an org chart, an organizational chart. AI, artificial intelligence, is really the chairman of the board. And then the CEO of one of the companies could be ChatGPT. But right now they're being used together. But ChatGPT is from a company called OpenAI. It's a privately held company. Their CEO is a guy named Sam Altman. You may have heard him or seen him in some of these congressional hearings and things like that. They are highly funded by Microsoft. So Microsoft has a big stake in OpenAI. And so obviously ChatGPT. And then really the other main one we're going to talk about today is BARD, B-A-R-D. And BARD is the ChatGPT competitor from Google. And I actually yesterday got a chance to attend a Google generative AI, and I'm going to get to that term in a second, but a big event in Irvine, California. And it was fascinating. It was really cool to see what Google is planning to do with their BARD and how they're going to incorporate that across the Google suite of products, from YouTube to Google Docs to Google Maps to really everything. Everything's getting integrated into the Google suite of products, which was actually very cool. There's also a third player called Anthropic, and their chatbot, so to speak, is called Claude. And to be honest with you, I haven't even tried Claude yet, but that's something I will do. And in the next episode, I'll do a comparison between Claude and ChatGPT and then Google Bard. Okay, so when it comes to ChatGPT or Google Bard, here's what's really cool. Fundamentally, it's you, your keyboard, and a dialog box, like a prompt box. That's it. And by the way, to find either one of them, just, Google it. Google ChatGPT or Google Google Bard, and you'll be taken to, the respective website for each. Again, I recommend you sign up for both of them. With ChatGPT, there is a paid version. I think starting out, that paid version is a lot better. It's $20 a month. But I think for everyone to just start out to get comfortable, you can get more than enough value from the free version, which is version 3.5. But what you'll notice in both of them is what's really simple when you go there is that it's simply a dialog box. It's simply like a chat box, and it says start a new chat. And when it says start a new chat, you pretty much just type something, ask it to do something, ask a question, or ask something. So I thought this would be interesting. I wanted to help you guys understand the term generative AI and define what generative AI is, because that's the term other than AI, other than artificial intelligence. You're going to be hearing generative AI quite a bit. And so I went into ChatGPT and I went into Google Bard and I asked them, I said, what is generative AI in simple terms? And I asked the same question to both. And then what I did was I took each respective answer, and first we'll hear from ChatGPT and then we'll hear from Bard. But what I did was I took the text that it gave me, and then I took that into 11 Labs. If you remember in episode 5, and then actually at the beginning of my podcast where it says, the following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production. I thought, I did that pretty well. That is an AI voice that is from a company called 11 Labs that I generated for the beginning of my podcast. And so let's hear from Claude from 11 Labs to give us the ChatGPT answer to what is generative AI. Claude.
Generative AI, in simple terms, refers to computer programs or algorithms that can create new content, such as text, images, or even music, that is similar to what a human might produce. These AI systems use patterns and knowledge learned from existing data to generate new, original content. For example, A generative AI model trained on text data can generate coherent paragraphs of text that resemble human-written articles, while an image-based generative AI can create realistic-looking images from scratch. Generative AI has applications in creative fields, automation, and various industries where the generation of new content is valuable.
So again, that was pretty cool. So I basically asked ChatGPT what generative AI was. I copied the text into 11 Labs website, and then I had one of their simulated voices, Claude, read it back to us. All right, that was cool. Now, let's go to Google Bard. So here's where Google, obviously can leverage their scale and can leverage their size more than a small company like OpenAI, even though OpenAI, again, I use small as a relative term, and I know they're funded by Microsoft. But with Google, I put the same question in, and then I got the answer. And then here's what's pretty cool on the Google Bard side is Google Bard, I didn't have to copy it into 11 Labs. They actually have a voice synthesizer of their own built in, almost like their own 11 Labs inside their own ChatGPT, but it's their voice synthesizer inside their Bard. So let's hear from, I guess we'll call him Bart from Google Bard, and let's hear his answer. Bart, take it away.
Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create new content. It is trained on large amounts of data, such as text, images, or audio, and then uses that data to generate new content that is similar to the training data. For example, a generative AI model that is trained on text can be used to generate new text, such as poems, articles, or even code. A generative AI model that is trained on images can be used to generate new images, such as realistic portraits of people who don't exist or landscapes that have never been seen before. Generative AI is still a relatively new field, but it has the potential to revolutionize many industries. For example, it can be used to create new products and services, improve the efficiency of existing processes, and even help us to understand the world around us better. Here are a few examples of generative AI in action. Writing. Generative AI can be used to write articles, blog posts, even books. It can also be used to generate creative text formats, like poems, code, scripts, musical pieces, email, letters, etc. Translation. Generative AI can be used to translate text from one language to another, and to generate subtitles for videos. Image generation. Generative AI can be used to generate realistic images of people, places, and things. It can also be used to create new art styles and to edit existing images. Audio generation. Generative AI can be used to generate music, speech, and other sounds. It can also be used to improve the quality of existing audio recordings. Video generation. Generative AI can be used to generate realistic videos of people, places, and things. It can also be used to create new video effects and to edit existing videos. Generative AI is a powerful tool that has the potential to be used for good or for bad. It is important to use generative AI responsibly and to be aware of the potential risks.
Okay, so that was Bart from Bard. No, I'm just making up the name Bart. I don't think they call it that. But that was Google Bard, and they have their own voice synthesizer, and they gave that to us. Now, I will say, one thing I was surprised about is I couldn't download that as an MP4 file and pull it directly into this recording in GarageBand. For example, with 11 Labs, obviously that file gets downloaded as an MP4 file, and then I just copy and paste it and drop it into GarageBand, which is that program that I told you in episode 5 I use to edit these podcasts. But with 11 or with Google Bard, and maybe I just missed it, I'll have to go back and look, but I wasn't able to actually export that voice file. So what I had to do was I had to play the file and then use my iPhone voice memos, and I recorded that onto my iPhone voice memos, and then I took that voice memos and I brought it into GarageBand. Yeah, manual. How dare they? How dare they make me do that? That's ridiculous. What a piece of trash. I'm kidding. All right. Anyway, you know what? There was a bunch more stuff that I wanted to talk about, but to be honest with you, this is a deep, shallow dive. So let's not get overloaded. This is a pretty, well, it's really not that complicated, but again, it is complicated. Anything new, somewhat gets complicated. But again, in summary for today, if you did want to start to dip your toe into the world of AI, remember the term generative AI. But if you want to dip your toe, start off with ChatGPT and then BARD from Google. If you have any problems logging in or signing up or finding them, just hit me up. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Maybe I'll even put the links for them in the show notes and description. Yeah, I'll do that so they're there. But again, at the end of the day, let's start here. Let's start with ChatGPT and BARD, and then again, remember the term generative AI. And if you want to do any homework, do homework on generative AI. But in future episodes, I'll talk about how these guys generate, images, how you can use them to, write a book, respond to emails. There's so much that can be done with this, especially now that, like I said, Google is incorporating them into their entire suite of products. So there's a lot of stuff to come. But here's the deal, guys. This stuff is not going away. It's only gonna get greater. It's like, I liken this to the internet in, maybe like 2006, 2007. Remember that time? It was like the beginning of Facebook, the beginning of YouTube, all that. And a lot of people were like, I don't want to learn this stuff. It's not going to last. And look where we are. Seriously, Facebook and YouTube and those guys all, rooted around 2006. That was when they came out. And that's really when, things like online dating, RIP teamdating.com. God, that was a great idea before its time. And other stuff came around in 2006. And I mean, that wasn't that long ago. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was informative. Call a spade, and talk to you soon. Oh yeah, special thanks to our guest, RayDA.I. Appreciate you, RayDA.I. And we'll have you on for future episodes as well. You kind of crushed it at the beginning. All right.
This episode was brought to you by Boost Liquid Vitamins. Wake up, take your Boost, start your day. Drink your vitamins, build your immune system with Boost. Available on Boost.com.